7 minutes ago, Princess Diana's lost letter to Princess Anne finally revealed, as King Charles's health becomes the center of attention and the future of the throne takes on an air of uncertainty. Another figure is quietly shaping a strategy for the years ahead: Queen Camilla. The monarchy, despite enduring countless political and social upheavals, has long provided Britain with a rare continuity, an anchor of stability few institutions can claim. But to preserve that stability, especially as the sovereign gradually steps back, requires a guiding hand both steady and adaptable. And Camilla, who has journeyed from a once controversial shadow to a confident queen, appears to be preparing for precisely that role. What stands out is that her strategy is not marked by grand declarations or theatrical gestures, but instead rooted in something deeply personal: the perspective of a mother to two sons, a woman who has lived under the harshest public scrutiny, and someone who understands the profound value of protection, of creating a safe space for the next generation. In the royal world, where every step is watched, dissected, and judged by both public and press, Camilla knows that true strategy lies not in controlling the gaze, but in ensuring the people believe the crown remains strong enough to guide the nation through uncertainty. The recent resurfacing of Princess Diana in the headlines, through a long-lost letter to Princess Anne, only adds another layer of complexity. Diana, the eternal people's princess, still shapes how the public perceives the monarchy today. And while speculation swirls, was the letter a cry for help about her marriage, or a secret entrusted only to Anne? Camilla faces her own test: how to avoid being eclipsed by the immense shadow of her predecessor, while still carving out a role that is distinct, resilient, and lasting. Princess Diana, the beloved princess who died in a tragic car accident in 1997, was known for her grace, beauty, and compassion. However, she was also a woman who faced countless challenges within the royal palace. While she presented a perfect princess image to the public, only a few knew about her troubles. Among them, reportedly, Princess Anne. Though the world may not be aware of their close bond, the lost letter from Princess Diana to Princess Anne revealed a shared friendship with an emotional and personal understanding. But what exactly were the contents of Diana's letter to Anne? Stay with us as we unveil its contents. The surprising discovery of Princess Diana's letter to Princess Anne has captivated people with different speculations and rumors concerning the contents of the princess's letter. Some suggest the letter contained information about Camilla Parker Bowles, Prince Charles's former mistress and the woman Princess Diana called the third person in her marriage. Others believe it was a personal confession of Diana's troubles with depression and her struggles with bulimia, as she felt isolated and emotionally drained by Charles's continuous absence in her life and their sons' lives. This made Diana confide in someone she could trust within the palace walls, since the secrets of the royal family stayed within the family. However, all these speculations were incorrect. The letters weren't about Camilla or Diana's personal health troubles, but something else. Diana's letters weren't like casual notes, but an intimate, heartfelt expression of her innermost thoughts. Notably, these letters were dated between the 1980s and 1990s, marking a tumultuous period in Diana's life when she struggled with the demands of royal life, an unfaithful husband, an absent father to her children, and overwhelming loneliness. As Diana's marriage deteriorated, she struggled to maintain perfect composure in public, and she turned to writing as her outlet, a way to clear her minds. Little did she know these letters would one day be shared with the public. But why Anne? Why did Diana choose Anne, of all the people in the royal family, to share her innermost thoughts? Stay tuned as we explore Princess Diana and Princess Anne's relationship. Princess Anne and Princess Diana's relationship, the relationship between Diana, Princess of Wales, and Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, has long been in the spotlight, with many wondering what the bond between the two sisters-in-law was like. According to royal author Ingrid Seward, tension between Diana and Anne existed before Diana married Prince Charles. In her book Prince Edward, Seward revealed an incident that occurred toward the end of Ascot Week in June 1981, barely a month before Diana's marriage. Diana had sensed Anne's apathy toward her and, wanting to make a good impression, went up to the nursery in the Queen's Tower, where Anne was settling in with her son Peter, who was 3 at the time, and her 4-week-old daughter Zara. Diana greeted Princess Anne respectfully, saying, "Ma'am, how wonderful to see you." However, Anne sensed her being pretentious and ignored her greeting. Instead, she looked up at Diana with a disdainful stare. Diana, uncomfortable with the searing force of Anne's scorn, fled the room. This bumpy start characterized their relationship with tension and misunderstanding. One of the significant factors that affected their relationship was the age difference. Anne was 11 years older than her brother's wife, Diana, and reportedly felt overshadowed by Diana, becoming concerned that her sister-in-law, over a decade her junior, made her look out of touch. But how did Diana make Anne look out of touch? Princess Diana made Princess Anne feel out of touch with her emotionally charged approach, which Anne found irritating. This made Anne once remark, "Wherever she goes, drama follows." This was due to Diana's presence in media headlines, which contrasted with Anne's no-nonsense demeanor. Anne took royal duties and responsibilities as a priority with less concern for media attention. Anne complained about the attention Diana attracted from the press. However, Diana ignored all of Anne's complaints, as she used her charm and emotional connection to engage with the public. HIV does not make people dangerous to know, so you can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it. A significant example of this was during the HIV/AIDS epidemic, when Diana removed her glove to shake hands with HIV patients in front of cameras. This picture became very famous, as it won public admiration. But, as Anne said, Diana always came with drama. Back in the 1970s, before Princess Diana became part of the royal family, Princess Anne was given the accolade of the hardest-working royal. However, in the 1980s, with Diana's media rush and popularity, the narrative changed. Even though Anne was making 4 times as many royal appearances as Diana, the focus remained on Diana, who was pregnant with Prince William. The whole media was consumed with royal baby fever at its peak. The media ignored Princess Anne, who was busy with a royal tour of the U.S. Instead of asking Anne about her trip, reporters were more interested in asking about Diana. Interestingly, Anne first learned about Prince William's birth from a news crew, and when they questioned her for a reaction, she bluntly said she wasn't aware Diana had given birth. Anne's reaction was expected, as she had a straightforward, pragmatic personality. However, she became frustrated as the media pressured her to make a statement on how she felt about being an aunt, and all she had to say was there was too much fuss over the new baby. This showed her frustration at how the media paid little attention to her diligent royal work, but were caught up with Diana's baby. This highlighted the difference in how both women approached their royal responsibilities. Anne, a no-nonsense woman dedicated to her royal duties, did what had to be done without seeking media attention, while Diana loved the attention she got with her charm. The difference in their approaches and personalities led to sparks of tension. A palace insider once revealed that Diana was intimidated by Anne, and Charles never made much effort to help his new wife bond with his sister. However, this was only the beginning. Several more events widened the gap in friendship between Diana and Anne. Stay with us as we uncover more. In 1982, when Prince William was born, Princess Anne was expected to be the godparent to Prince Charles and Princess Diana's firstborn and future heir, Prince William, especially since Charles was the godfather to her son, Peter Phillips. However, Anne wasn't given the position. It was alleged that Charles agreed to the idea of his sister becoming William's godmother, but Diana wasn't keen on the idea, and so Anne was passed over. Charles assured Diana that she would be the godmother of their next child. However, when the time came, something unexpected happened. When Prince Harry was born in 1984, Anne expected to assume the role of godmother to Harry, but she was snubbed again for the second time. Instead, Diana chose her best friend and old flatmate, Carolyn Bartholomew, justifying her decision by saying she wanted a male godparent for a male child. This decision heightened the rift between Diana and Anne refused to attend the christening of Prince Harry held at Windsor Castle. Instead, Princess Anne and her husband sent a message that they wouldn't be able to make the event but would arrive later in the day. Interestingly, Princess Anne was having a hunting party at her Gloucestershire home as Prince Harry was being baptized, with guns blazing 100 meters away at Gatcombe Park. Anne's absence didn't go unnoticed. And it wasn't only Anne who was upset at Diana's decision. Charles's father, Prince Philip, was also annoyed by the decision and reportedly wasn't speaking to his son Charles at the time of the christening. Diana's decision on her son's godparents further strained her and Anne's relationship. Yet, despite these tensions, these women shared some similarities. In Andrew Morton's biography, Diana mentioned that despite rumors, she and Anne got along great. While they weren't each other's confidants, they respected one another and got along well. Unlike what the tabloids often presented, let's take a look at the similarities between both women. Diana and Anne both shared a strong commitment to charity and public service. Diana focused on causes like AIDS awareness, campaigns against landmines, and regular visits to orphanages and hospitals. Similarly, Princess Anne championed numerous charitable commitments behind the scenes, like being an advocate for health issues, children's welfare, and equestrian sport. They also shared strong, independent personalities. Diana was an outspoken woman who loved her independence and broke royal tradition by wearing more casual outfits and engaging with the public in a hands-on approach, an approach royals hardly followed in the 1980s and 1990s. Princess Diana redefined what it meant to be royal with her approach to royalty. Likewise, Anne is known for her strong will and no-nonsense attitude, focusing on her royal duties and presenting herself as an independent, focused woman. Another striking similarity was their experience with marital struggles. Diana's perfect marriage picture with Prince Charles ended in divorce. Well, there were three of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. Anne's marriage to Captain Mark Phillips also ended in divorce. Both women faced challenges in their marriages and intense scrutiny thanks to the media. Though Princess Diana's story was in the spotlight as she was seen as a global icon by many, despite their marital challenges, both women didn't let the situation get the best of them, as they remained dedicated to their roles and responsibilities. In the end, despite their differences and tense moments, Diana and Anne shared certain qualities that showed their unique connection. But what could have possibly been contained in the mysterious letter? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into Diana's struggles in the royal family to understand this. Diana's struggles within the royal family began shortly after her marriage to Prince Charles, though there were early signs of the struggles she would face in the marriage. What were these early signs? Keep watching to find out. 2 weeks before Diana and Charles's wedding, Diana stumbled upon a bracelet in Charles's study, inscribed with the letters GF, believed to stand for Gladys and Fred, Charles and Camilla's nicknames for each other. When Charles's right-hand man, Michael Colborne, arrived at the office, he found that Diana had opened the box, discovered the bracelet, and become jealous. Notably, Camilla continued her affair with Charles even after they got married. However, before Camilla's affair with Charles, shortly after the extravagant wedding, tension escalated between the royal lovebirds as the public and media focused on Diana over Charles. During their first royal tour after their honeymoon, Charles felt overshadowed by Diana, with thousands of people lined up on both sides of the streets to catch a glimpse of the couple. Diana would greet one side while Charles attended to the other. However, on Charles's side, there were audible sighs and groans from people as they wanted to see Diana instead. They gave Charles bouquets, asking him to pass them to his wife. These created feelings of jealousy within Charles. The media's obsession with Diana further fueled Charles's resentment. When Charles gave speeches about an issue dear to him, such as the environment or a charitable cause, to his dismay, the newspaper reports the next day would be dominated by photos of Diana with commentary on her hairstyle, her weight, and her clothes, and often speculation as to whether she was pregnant, with no mention of his speech. Charles, who was once in the spotlight, was now being treated as secondary. Charles didn't take this lightly, as he was frustrated by the media's attention on Diana. But it doesn't end there. In addition to the public and media attention, Diana struggled with her marriage, as Charles was barely at home. He was occupied with his royal duties and spending time with Camilla, as they had renewed their affair, and Diana was aware. The knowledge of Charles's relationship with Camilla worsened Diana's emotional health. She felt heartbroken, and the situation seemed to worsen as she dealt with postnatal depression following the birth of Prince Harry. However, no one in the royal family supported her, as they saw her as an attention-seeking person. This made Diana distant and isolated from everyone else, and she had to deal with her struggles alone. However, Diana's isolation led to something else: bulimia, an eating disorder marked by excessive eating followed by vomiting. The royal family saw this as further evidence of Diana's desire for attention, failing to understand that she developed bulimia because of her husband's affair with Camilla. Despite Diana's marital struggles, she maintained a public image of the perfect marriage, attending public events with Charles and performing her royal duties. However, when they traveled abroad, they maintained separate lives, staying in different rooms on the same floor. Diana tried to make her marriage work, as she feared what would happen to her sons if she filed for divorce. Yet, Charles's attention was focused on Camilla, which eventually led to the breakdown of their marriage. Diana's dance teacher, Anne Allen, recalled moments when Diana broke down in tears during lessons, revealing her desperation to make Charles happy and her frustration over his infidelity. To deal with these struggles, Diana sometimes turned to writing, pouring out her heartfelt thoughts and emotions into her handwritten letters. Stay tuned as we uncover the contents of Diana's letters. Diana's other letters. In 1984, just 10 days after Prince Harry's birth, Princess Diana wrote an intimate letter to her parents' housekeeper, Violet Collison. The letter read, "It was so very kind of you to have given such a lovely present to Harry. We were enormously touched. I cannot thank you enough for the bibs." Diana also added, "William adores his little brother and spends the entire time pouring an endless supply of hugs and kisses over Harry." However, today, William and Harry's relationship is far from warm hugs and kisses and rather frosty. Another handwritten letter, dated October 21, 1981, was written in blue ink on stationery bearing a stamped royal crest. It reads in part, "Died Mr. and Mrs. Pendry, enclosed is a small memento of our wedding day, which I hope you'll like. Signed, Diana." On the verso, another letter was written to Collison. It was a double-sided letter written on Buckingham Palace notepaper to thank Collison for a birthday present. Dated July 8, 1981, 3 weeks before the royal wedding, the then Lady Diana Spencer also noted that everyone is frantically busy here doing last-minute decorations. The bride-to-be has remained quite calm. Interestingly, in another letter, Diana wrote regarding her divorce from King Charles, confiding in Collison, "If I'd known a year ago what I'd experienced going through this divorce, I never would have consented. It's desperate and ugly." In another, she wrote, "It's too difficult sometimes to keep one's head up. And today I am on my knees and just longing for this divorce to go through, as the possible cost is tremendous." Diana's letters were heartfelt and filled with raw emotions, providing a glimpse into her struggles. These letters also revealed Diana's appreciation for the small gifts and acts of kindness she received from those in her life. Miss Collison, on the other hand, valued her relationship with Diana, as she kept many of Diana's letters as they maintained correspondence. On July 30th, 2024, several of Diana's letters to Miss Collison were auctioned at Sorters Auctioneers in Essex. The auction items were a confidential collection of 32 highly personal letters and cards written by the Princess of Wales. Among them were signed family Christmas cards and memorabilia from key events relating to Diana's life, such as a personal invitation to the royal wedding, a ticket for Diana's funeral, and correspondence for her memorial service. One notable item was a 1981 signed holiday card with the wedding photo of Prince Charles and Diana, sold for $3,900. At the end of the auction, more than a dozen letters and cards from Diana to her family's former housekeeper sold for a total of $51,815. Even in death, Princess Diana's memory remained cherished by millions of people around the world. The auction of Diana's notes and letters showed her enduring influence and how she had resonated deeply with people. Princess Diana's legacy was more than just her role as a royal, as it encompassed the kind of woman she was during her lifetime. Let's take a look at what makes Princess Diana the beloved princess she remains to this day. Princess Diana's legacy. What was your instant impression of her? Well, I remember thinking what a very jolly and amusing and attractive 16-year-old she was. Princess Diana's legacy lives on to this very day, as her compassion and advocacy for the vulnerable made her the beloved people's princess. Some of her most notable works include her groundbreaking efforts in AIDS awareness. Diana challenged the way people viewed HIV/AIDS patients by debunking the myth that it could be transmitted by physical contact. As she did something no royal would do, Princess Diana famously took off her gloves and shook the hands of an AIDS patient. This simple yet powerful act helped improve the image of AIDS patients in the 1980s. The broader ward of the Middlesex Hospital is the only specially designed AIDS ward in Britain. The hospital reckoned that the princess's visit was worth all the government propaganda put together. Diana went on to open the UK's first purpose-built AIDS unit at London's Middlesex Hospital, focused exclusively on caring for those with the virus, just like the AIDS Awareness Project. Princess Diana also brought a global attention to leprosy. Certainly, in the respect that the lead-up to Princess Diana coming was, will she or won't she wear gloves? And she didn't. I believe she wouldn't. And she's lived up to what I believe she knew the facts. She visited leprosy patients and made physical contact with those affected by the disease to dispel the myth that leprosy could be contracted by touch. In 1990, before a visit to Indonesia, Diana became a patron of the Leprosy Mission, an organization providing medicine, treatment, and support to individuals and their families affected by the disease. Diana remained an active member of the organization during her lifetime. Aside from health causes, Princess Diana was deeply concerned with societal causes, particularly the poor and homeless masses in society, and so she looked for a way to help them. In '92, she became a patron of Centrepoint, a charity aimed at helping homeless young people and seeking to end youth homelessness in the UK. Diana often took her sons with her to these visits, recognizing how important it was for the princes to develop a sense of the hardships and injustices faced by so many members of society. Diana was also a passionate advocate against the use of landmines, which left devastating consequences for those affected. During Diana's visit to Angola with the British Red Cross, she met with the Halo Trust, a charity working to clear mines left during the Angolan Civil War. She collaborated with them to stop the use of landmines. Diana also did something remarkable, walking across a cleared lane in an active minefield. This iconic walk through an active landmine drew the attention of global figures to the dangers posed by the use of landmines. Diana's efforts further helped the campaign for an international ban on landmines. A global landmine treaty, the Ottawa Treaty, was signed later that year, just months after Diana's tragic death in August 1997. The shocking allegations about Princess Diana's death. Authorities are now reviewing the new and sensational claim that she was actually murdered by the British government. Today, Princess Diana's sons continue her charity work. Her 20th anniversary year feels like a good time to remember all the good things about her. As they strive to continue her humanitarian legacy, spreading awareness and giving a voice to those in need. In one of his most candid interviews ever, Britain's Prince William talked about the impact of losing his mother. He's hoping to help others by sharing his very personal thoughts. My mother would have known that she'd been deceived. She was failed not just by a rogue reporter, but by leaders at the BBC who looked the other way rather than asking the tough questions. Prince Harry is actively involved in the HIV/AIDS awareness program, while Prince William supports Centrepoint, continuing the work of their mother. In 2007, he became acting president of the Royal Marsden Hospital, a children's cancer unit, a cause close to his mother's heart. Prince William aimed to consistently visit the hospital and patients to the present day. Diana left an incredible footprint on the world, and her memory continues to inspire millions. This showed that Diana had left her mark before she passed on, and she still lives on as her memory is cherished. In the heart of every storm, there comes a moment when silence speaks louder than words. Princess Anne's voice, firm and unwavering, sliced through the heavy air of the private chamber. She reminded both King Charles and Prince William that the monarchy was not merely a stage for power struggles or personal grievances. It was, above all, a legacy built on the sacrifices of those who came before them, a legacy entrusted to them to preserve, not to destroy. Her words carried the weight of history, yet also the tenderness of a sister and an aunt who had witnessed too much pain within the family. For Charles, they were a piercing echo of responsibility he could no longer delay. For William, they were a reminder that duty sometimes demands restraint, even when the heart burns with resentment. In that moment, the three of them, bound not just by blood, but by the fragile crown that tied their fates, stood at a crossroads. Anne's revelation was more than a disclosure. It was a plea for unity before the storm outside consumed them all. And as her words settled into the silence, it became clear that the future of the monarchy would depend not on who yielded power, but on who chose to protect its very soul. Very soul. Very soul. Very soul.